All right, so I've been looking at doing some Reddit success stories, and I have Paul Sue here. He shared with me on LinkedIn that he'd had some success, and I actually followed a little bit along. Paul, you actually shared quite a bit on LinkedIn about your past year
I
and
have.
your overall story. So before we jump into your Reddit marketing success story, because I find that fascinating, I want to hear a little bit about your journey the last year, just like you've been exploring social labs, you've been changing your approach to things. Tell me a
For
little bit
sure.
about that.
So, like all tech agencies know, 2023 has been really tough, right? The market was off a hot start during the COVID. 2023
Mhm.
really was a correction of the entire tech market. So I really had an epiphany realizing that jumping around different contracts as a freelancer, as a small agency owner, just wasn't going to cut it anymore. You have to put yourself out there either on social media or the internet to just kind of tell people what you are and who you are. So that's kind of how I got started on Reddit, how I jumped onto X, and now I'm starting to go on LinkedIn,
Yep.
either build a personal brand or just let people know what you do.
People follow people, right? And
Sure.
your posts to me are very authentic. Took a look at the last few of them, and I'm just like, this sounds like somebody who's just sharing their experience, and it's really interesting to follow along with. So, did you go through anything building your personal brand, or did one day you're just like, I'm going to start talking?
That's basically how I did it. Like the entire journey from beginning to end is I started posting anonymously on Reddit. I know we're jumping
Yeah,
ahead a little bit, but Reddit really is you're anonymous, right? If you don't know your words, you don't know your language, it's a really good place for you to just test. And
yeah,
it's honestly the best place for you to get quick feedback because there's no algorithm. People on Reddit is unhinged. If you sound robotic, if you're selling too hard, they will let you know
yeah.
right away. So I did that for about a couple months and then transitioned into X, just talking about myself, being authentic. Then about a year later, I'm now on LinkedIn.
That's awesome. That's up. Okay, let's dive into some. So,
Go for it.
um, in the beginning, like, how did have you been Redditing for a while before,
Yeah.
like, even thinking about this?
Yeah. So I've been a Reddit lurker for literally 15 years.
Or right before they sold it? Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. Back then it was just memes and cat pictures.
The little Wild West of the Reddit world there. And you know what's funny because a lot of people have that picture of pre 2015 Reddit
Yeah.
when like before Steve Huffman came back and like kind of like changed the direction of the company.
Yeah.
Like it was going in some paths and had some negative press. So when you were like kind of starting to go explore more from the business side of things with your
Right.
brand and whatnot, did you find subreddits that were interesting to you? Were you in some communities already and just started naturally posting? Tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about how that worked.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So because I'm already a software developer, I was already hanging out places where I know for a fact that my target audience, my customers are already
Yeah.
at. Because periodically I would see people say, hey, I'm looking for a software developer. I have an idea. How do I get started? So, like websites like Entrepreneur, SaaS, side projects, startups, I was already part of this community. But because I was a lurker, I really didn't know how to start posting. So I
Yeah.
started really commenting first, being the reply guy.
That's interesting. I am similar to you, and I'm a little bit behind on where it sounds like your journey is right now.
Yep,
Because I've been lurking for, I don't know, about probably a little bit less, probably 10 years. But
yep,
the last few months when I've just been seeing this like opportunity arise, that's commenting has been the easiest like entry level point. Just like,
exactly.
oh, it's usually just add some value. Like I'm just giving my opinion.
That's it. Give your opinion, give value. Don't try to sell anything. And if you're starting from Reddit from a brand new account, you need karma, which is like these
Yeah.
fake internet points. Karma will let you start posting on subreddits as well. So commenting is a really good way for you to kind of build that account history.
Do you have more than one account or do you just have the one?
I do have more than one account, but those accounts are what I need to comment on,
Yeah.
being more anonymous, let's say.
That world's growing up. I have a friend who they're basically like they create accounts and build them up. That's another wild world. But yeah, so I wanted to highlight one of, and please tell me if there's something else you'd rather go through. But you
Sure.
mentioned that there was a post that had over 300,000 views and hundreds and lots of DMs that you booked some calls from. Tell me a little bit about that post.
Yeah. Okay. So I can talk about a few of them. The most recent one that I posted in our startups. Was that the one that you're talking about, or?
This is just me reading your LinkedIn share. You say you mentioned our SaaS and our entrepreneurs.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'll go through all of them, but they all basically follow the same format. The way that you can use Reddit to your advantage is by making a post that indirectly sells to your target audience. Okay, I'll break down my most recent post that I booked calls from. In our startups, I posted a post titled "New Founder?" question mark. Next 10 years of your life will look like this. And then in that post, I basically just stepped through from year 1 to year 10, exactly what my perspective, a startup life for a startup founder would look like. So, for
yeah,
example, you're in your year 1 and 2, you just raised the pre-seed round, you maybe have some early signs of product market fit, everything is on fire all the time, but you're having a good time. Everybody's like getting shit done. By year 6 and 8, things are slowing down. It might be 3 years after your first sign of profit market fit. Suddenly your team is massive or growing, but your competitors are also catching up. It's the first time that you're seeing sales slow down. And then by year 7, you realize that you have to completely pivot your original idea because you lost the product market fit. You have to reinvent yourself. And then by year 9 and 10, maybe you survived the second pivot, and now you're well on the way to $100 million or $1 billion company.
amazing.
And from that, it's really engaging. A lot of founders DM me and says that, hey, I mean, your four is exactly like what you said.
Yeah.
I love to know who you are. I like to get to know like what you do. Let's talk. So from there, I
Wow.
generated about like 100 DMs. From there, I whittled down to like maybe about 20 or 30 calls, I think. And then from the 20, 30 calls, I landed about 2 or 3 actual clients.
That is awesome. And it's just like authentically sharing your perspective. Did you create any graphics or any documents to kind of go with it? Or was it just like a text share?
It really took me like 15 minutes to. That post generated about 316K views. Just look at it here, 91% up rate, about 144 comments, 1,000 shares.
This is great. This is like a prime example of just when I'm talking to brands right now about using Reddit, there's a lot of this like, well, is it for my brand or whatnot? It's like, well, you're talking to people
You're
and
talking
you're not talking to consumers trying to buy. You're talking to people. Now, a lot of them are in a buying stage. If you go, there's a ton of like Reddit opportunity for people who are evaluating products to purchase. And if you give them real information, you can convert them. But like this kind of
exactly
post here is just it's actually not even you talking about your software prowess, your software development prowess,
yeah,
or how you've built this many apps successfully. This is just you in like a related path, something that obviously is in business and in your industry,
correct.
outlining your perspective that will help someone who's going to make a decision. That's super cool.
Exactly, right? So I sprinkling some things like, hey, here you're hiring a chief of staff, right? You're hiring a head of people, or here, you might not be able to, you don't have the internal resources to pivot away from your original product idea, right?
Yeah,
So like these are real things that people go through, startup lifespan.
and if you look at the comments, it's fascinating. There's like, it's just people being funny, people being curious.
Yeah,
I don't mean funny in terms of like totally like, mocking, but like just like this first post, it's like, okay, slow down. What's step one again? You're still having fun while you're talking about experience here.
exactly. That's why Reddit is so fun, right? That's why it's been 15 years and I'm still active on Reddit every day. It's just people being hilarious and funny. And if you're being too salesy, people will call you out right
Yeah.
away.
So I have another question for you that I was
Sure.
thinking about here because, believe not the easiest, smoothest of transitions, but Reddit advertising. it is an area where I'm curious to explore a lot with. I have a few projects I'm
Mm,
working on. I'm a Google Ads guy. I've been a Google Ads guy for the last 15 years and
gotcha.
SEO as well, a little bit too. But our mutual friend Brian with the Google
Yes.
Ads world, right? So, I'm moving on from the agency. I'm looking at Reddit. I see a ton of opportunity, like low CPMs, low cost per clicks, a
Yeah.
super immature platform. Like their platform, like I wouldn't necessarily trust their algorithm and all these kind of things compared to like Google and Meta. But you
Sure.
have I don't know how much is the traffic on Reddit has like 4x in the last year. It's insane the growth there. And you have a bunch of new Redditors, not just the old guard Redditors, right? So there's people on there who aren't as critical of the Reddit sphere now. What I want to work on and try solving next is how to build ads that aren't so salesy, but obviously still drive revenue.
Yeah.
I really have a feeling about like similar to your post here, building stories and promoting them, obviously saying they're sponsored posts, but not adding the value first and promoting the conversation. And then if they want to purchase, bringing
Yeah.
them off the platform and trying to focus on that. Like I have some ideas of how I want to even change up landing pages and how I do them for Reddit campaigns. Have you experimented at all with the ad side of things or just all organic?
Okay, I'll tell you a story. Reddit, honestly, I do all product review research with the tag Reddit at the end. So I type into Google. Last year, when I proposed to my girlfriend, I was looking for a jewelry maker because I had this idea of creating a custom ring. So the first place that I looked wasn't like a jewelry store, wasn't like my own network. I literally just typed into Google search, jewelry maker, Canada, Reddit. And then I think 3 posts down, I saw a post of somebody doing similar thing or wanting to do a similar thing. Somebody in the thread recommended this guy out of Vancouver. Couldn't remember his name now, but he's like,
Yeah.
I used this guy before. He's awesome. You should look him up. A few people also agreed to him. It's like, hey, I've used this guy before. He's super nice. The whole thing went flawlessly. So within like 15 minutes of me typing into Google, jumping onto Reddit, I was already 80% way there to like making, let's say, like a $5,000 purchase.
Yeah. That's wild.
Like that's the power of Reddit. Nowhere on the platform you can use like clutch.com or you can use all these review sites. But for consumer products, I think Reddit is the way to go.
It's as a brand, I do think it's going to be a combination of organic and ads. I don't think it's just going to be, I don't know if you'll just get out there and be an advertiser without having some sort of presence on the platform.
Yeah.
There's just so much opportunity on those kind of middle of funnel things like what you're doing, where you're like just trying to evaluate and you're taking someone
Yeah.
else's, referral basically. Like, yeah. But brand awareness can still be captured there. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's an
Like
area I got to kind of play with.
if the guy served an ad on here and I clicked into it and it's just like linked to that comment even. I don't know if you could, but you probably like you can serve an ad to a link
Yeah.
to a post.
Yeah.
That would have sold me.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not even necessarily about bringing them off platform to a landing page. It could be about, building up a presence where you're adding that value, similar to this new founder post you did.
Yeah.
And that's actually where you're driving some of the traffic.
Exactly. I wrote a book about it. I know this is a tangential, but this is basically what I learned about people's behavior on the internet and Reddit is that if you're going to market something and then you do it well, people look so Reddit especially, it's very people are very hesitant to click away from links. This is kind of like a baked in thing from years ago where
Yep.
every single click is kind of risky. It might be a virus at the end, et cetera, et cetera. But like essentially all you need is just put relevant links inside of your profile. And if you're talking about something interesting, people will look you up.
Yeah.
They will click into your profile, they'll look you up, type into Google, whatever that is, they'll look you up and find you.
It is a little bit of a new mindset to marketers who are used to the Google Ads approach where you have an offer,
The
they
whole
search something, they come to your landing page, you either give them something free or you give them a discount or something like that and try to convert them there. And it's all about conversion rate. Like
Gotcha.
some of the guys in my circle with a lot of these different LLM advancements, they talk about how the top of funnel is with SERPs being our search engine results pages being just basically AI answers,
Yeah.
conquering a lot of them for these top of funnel searches. It's really these middle of funnel like reviews and trying to find and best these kind of things. Google is getting away from rewarding a lot of the typical affiliate websites and place
Mm,
and has been promoting a lot of Reddit there. So if you can get some of the like your a presence on some of these evaluation style posts, discussion style posts,
yeah.
get foster those kind of organically with your Reddit presence and then send an ad there. That's kind of the idea of like a growth strategy for this. It's
I
not
think that's
super
strong.
scalable because it's dependent on one specific path and it's so
Mm.
custom, but it's an idea.
So I don't have like the visibility, or I don't have the full comprehension of the full funnel marketing yet.
Yeah.
But like Reddit definitely captures that. People are just curious, and they will see whatever the value you're providing on Reddit, and then they
Yep.
will definitely find you out. So that part I'm very clear of.
Curiosity and conversation. Those are
Exactly.
like 100%. I'm going to keep this short. This was awesome. Just so the people know who all follow me on LinkedIn, know where to find you. Twitter and LinkedIn.
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is Pxue, Pxue. LinkedIn, you can find me on my name, Paul Su.
All right. Perfect.